Have you ever wondered why two people can face the exact same storm, yet one emerges stronger while the other gives up? It isn't because one is more talented. It isn't because one is luckier. And it certainly isn't because life was fair to one and unfair to the other. The difference lies in something invisible. Something no one can see. But everyone feels. Belief. Not belief in luck. Not belief in fate. But belief in yourself. Because the greatest prison isn't built with iron bars. It's built with doubt. Every time you tell yourself, "I'm not ready," another brick is added. Every time you compare your life to someone else's, another wall rises. Every time you let fear make your decisions, the prison grows stronger. And after enough years, you no longer need anyone else to hold you back. Your own mind does it for you. Here's the tragedy. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for confidence to arrive. They believe they'll finally trust themselves after they become successful. After they make more money. After they lose weight. After people begin to respect them. But what if confidence doesn't come after success? What if success comes after confidence? That single realization has changed the course of countless lives. And it's exactly what the Stoics understood over 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest philosophers, ruled an empire during war, plague, betrayal, and unimaginable pressure. Yet instead of searching for certainty in the world around him, he turned inward. He reminded himself that while he couldn't control the chaos outside, he could always control the thoughts he chose to believe. That lesson remains just as powerful today. Because every morning, your mind asks you one silent question. Can I trust you? Can I trust you to keep going when nobody believes in you? Can I trust you to continue after failure? Can I trust you to stay disciplined when motivation disappears? Can I trust you to choose courage over comfort? Most people answer, no, without ever speaking a word. Not because they're incapable, but because they've repeated the story of their limitations so many times that it feels like the truth. But here's something extraordinary. Your mind doesn't distinguish between a story you've lived and a story you've rehearsed thousands of times. Tell yourself you're weak often enough. You'll believe it. Tell yourself you're destined to fail. You'll begin acting like it. Tell yourself you're not worthy. And your actions will quietly prove it. The Stoics understood that before you can conquer the world, you must first conquer the story inside your own head. Think about a lion. Does it wake up wondering whether it's strong enough to hunt? Does it ask the opinions of sheep before it roars? Of course not. Its confidence doesn't come from applause. It comes from identity. Now ask yourself, who have you become? The person who waits? Or the person who acts? The person who seeks permission? Or the person who creates opportunity? The person controlled by fear? Or the person guided by purpose? Because every decision you make today is shaping the identity you'll carry tomorrow. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they stop believing before the results have time to appear. A seed buried beneath the soil doesn't look successful. To the outside world, it appears invisible. But beneath the surface, roots are growing. Strength is developing. Life is preparing itself. If the seed judged itself too early, it would believe nothing was happening. And that's exactly what many people do. They quit during the season when their roots are still growing. Don't let temporary silence convince you that permanent failure is your destiny. Sometimes, your greatest progress is happening where no one can see it. Not even you. This is why Stoicism teaches patience, not passive waiting, but disciplined persistence. To trust your effort even before you see the reward. To keep walking even when the road disappears into the fog. To believe in yourself before the evidence arrives. Because belief is not the reward. Belief is the beginning. So today, stop asking whether you're capable. Start asking whether you're willing. Willing to keep showing up. Willing to fail without surrendering. Willing to grow without immediate recognition. Willing to become the person your future self is waiting for. Remember this. The world doesn't decide your worth. Failure doesn't decide your worth. Criticism doesn't decide your worth. Even success doesn't decide your worth. Only you do. And the moment you stop asking the world for permission to believe in yourself, you become truly free. What if I told you that the greatest threat to your confidence isn't failure? It's repetition. Not the repetition of success. The repetition of doubt. Every single day, without realizing it, most people perform the same destructive ritual. They wake up, check their phones, compare their lives to strangers, remember yesterday's mistakes. And before they've even left their bed, they've already convinced themselves they're falling behind. This is how self-belief dies. Not in one dramatic moment, but in thousands of quiet moments no one notices. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology is only beginning to explain. Your mind becomes whatever you repeatedly feed it. If you constantly rehearse fear, fear becomes familiar. If you constantly rehearse excuses, excuses become your identity. And if you constantly rehearse confidence, confidence slowly becomes your nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote words that still echo through history. Your life is what your thoughts make it. Think about that for a moment. He didn't say your life is what your bank account makes it, or your appearance, or your circumstances. He pointed directly to your thoughts. Because every action begins with a belief. And every belief begins with a thought. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with stones. At first, one stone doesn't seem heavy. Then another. And another. Eventually, the weight becomes exhausting. Negative thoughts work the same way. One criticism. One rejection. One failure. One comparison. None of them seem powerful alone. But together, they become a burden that convinces you to stop climbing. Now let me tell you a story. There was a young sculptor who dreamed of creating a masterpiece. Every morning, he carved a single piece of marble. But after weeks of work, the block looked almost unchanged. People laughed. "You're wasting your time," they said. "Nothing is happening." Even he began to doubt himself. But he continued. One strike. Then another. Then another. Months later, the marble finally cracked open, revealing a breathtaking statue hidden inside. The crowd called it a miracle. But the sculptor smiled. Because he knew the statue wasn't created by the final strike. It was created by every strike that came before it. Your confidence grows the same way. People only notice the breakthrough. They never see the thousands of invisible moments that made it possible. So don't underestimate today's small act of courage. It may become tomorrow's defining moment. Now ask yourself, what thoughts are you practicing every day? Are you training your mind to believe? Or are you training it to doubt? Because whatever you practice becomes permanent. This is why the Stoics treated the mind like a garden. If you don't remove the weeds, they spread. If you don't plant good seeds, nothing worthwhile grows. The same is true of your inner life. Leave your mind unattended, and fear will move in. Comparison will move in. Self-pity will move in. Soon, they'll convince you they belong there. But they don't. Here's another truth that most people never hear. The voice in your head is not always telling the truth. It simply repeats what you've believed long enough. That means you don't have to obey every thought you have. You can question it. Challenge it. Replace it. When your mind says, "You're not capable," ask yourself, where is the proof? When it says, "Everyone is better than you," ask, compared to what? When it whispers, "You'll fail," respond with this, "Maybe I will. But I'll learn, grow, and try again." This is the Stoic way. Not blind optimism. Not pretending life is easy. But refusing to surrender your mind to fear. Remember, your greatest battle isn't against the world. It's against the version of yourself that no longer believes. Win that battle, and the world becomes far less intimidating. Because the strongest people aren't those who never feel fear. They're the ones who refuse to let fear become their master. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden lesson Marcus Aurelius used to remain calm under impossible pressure, A lesson that can completely transform how you see failure, success, and your own potential. Don't miss it. It may be the most important lesson in this entire journey. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine waking up every day knowing that an entire empire depends on your decisions. One wrong choice could cost thousands of lives. Every conversation could hide betrayal. Every victory could be followed by disaster. This wasn't fiction. This was the life of Marcus Aurelius. Yet despite carrying unimaginable responsibility, he left behind writings that reveal a man who refused to let fear control his mind. Why? Because he understood a truth that most people spend their entire lives chasing. Your peace does not come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. Think about your own life. How much of your energy is spent worrying about things you cannot control? What other people think? Whether someone appreciates you? Whether you'll fail? Whether life will go according to plan? Now ask yourself, has worrying ever changed the outcome? Or has it only stolen your peace? This is where the Stoics separate themselves from everyone else. They don't deny that life is difficult. They simply refuse to surrender their happiness to circumstances they cannot command. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "Today I will meet selfish people, dishonest people, arrogant people, and people driven by envy." He didn't write those words to become pessimistic. He wrote them so he wouldn't be surprised. Because disappointment often comes from unrealistic expectations. When you expect life to be perfect, every obstacle feels like a personal attack. But when you accept that hardship is part of being human, every obstacle becomes an opportunity to grow. That shift changes everything. Here's the question. What if every setback you've experienced wasn't sent to destroy you, but to reveal the strength you didn't know you had? Think about a sword. It isn't forged in comfort. It becomes stronger only after enduring intense heat and relentless strikes. Without the fire, there is no blade. Without pressure, there is no strength. So why do we expect our own lives to be different? Perhaps the challenges you're facing today aren't evidence that you're on the wrong path. Perhaps they're preparing you for a future version of yourself that couldn't exist without them. This is the mindset that separates those who quit from those who become extraordinary. Most people see pain and immediately ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The Stoic asks a different question. "What is this trying to teach me?" That single change in perspective transforms suffering into wisdom, failure into experience, fear into courage, and doubt into resilience. Now let me tell you another story. A young blacksmith once complained to his master. "I've worked for years," he said, "but I'm still not as skilled as you. Maybe I'm simply not gifted." The old master smiled and placed 2 pieces of steel into the furnace. One was removed after only a few moments. The other remained in the flames much longer before being hammered again and again. When both pieces cooled, the master handed them to the apprentice. The first bent easily. The second refused to break. The master looked at him and said, "The stronger steel wasn't born stronger. It simply endured what the weaker steel could not." Life works the same way. The hardships you've survived, the disappointments you've endured, the battles no one knows about, they are not proof that you're weak. They're proof that you're still standing. And sometimes, surviving is the greatest victory of all. So stop measuring your worth by how easy your journey has been. Measure it by how many times you've refused to stay down. Because believing in yourself doesn't mean you'll never fall. It means you trust yourself to rise every single time. That's the kind of confidence no one can take from you. Not criticism. Not failure. Not rejection. Not even success. Because your belief is no longer tied to outcomes. It's tied to character. And character cannot be stolen. But there's one final obstacle that even Marcus Aurelius warned about. An invisible enemy that quietly destroys confidence from within. Most people never recognize it until it's too late. In the next chapter, you'll discover that hidden enemy, and the daily Stoic practice that can defeat it before it takes control of your life. Because once you master this lesson, you'll stop waiting to become confident, and you'll begin living like someone who already is. There is an enemy more dangerous than failure, more dangerous than rejection, more dangerous than criticism. In fact, it doesn't live outside of you. It lives inside your own mind. Its name is comparison. Comparison is silent. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It convinces you that someone else's success somehow diminishes your own. It tells you that because another person is ahead of you, you've already lost. But think about that for a moment. How can you lose a race that was never meant to be against someone else? The Stoics believe that every human being has a unique role to play in life. Your journey is not my journey. My timeline is not your timeline. Your purpose is not someone else's purpose. So why do we insist on measuring our lives with another person's ruler? Imagine an oak tree standing beside a bamboo plant. The bamboo grows quickly. Within months, it towers above the ground. The oak grows much more slowly. Years pass before it reaches its full height. If the oak compared itself to the bamboo, it would believe it was failing. But decades later, when the storms arrive, the oak remains standing. Growth has never been about speed. It's always been about strength. And strength takes time. Now ask yourself one honest question. How many dreams have you abandoned simply because someone else seemed to achieve success faster? Maybe you wanted to start a business, but someone younger was already making millions. Maybe you wanted to create videos, but another creator already had 1 million subscribers. Maybe you wanted to write a book, but you thought the market was too crowded. So you stopped before you even began. Not because you lacked talent, because you believed you were too late. But here's the truth. You are not late. You are simply looking at someone else's Chapter 20 while you're still writing Chapter 1. Every master was once invisible. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident person you admire once questioned themselves in silence. The difference? They kept going. Not because they always believed in success, but because they refused to stop believing in the possibility. Marcus Aurelius never compared himself to other emperors. He compared himself only to the man he had been yesterday. That is the Stoic standard. Not perfection. Progress. Imagine waking up tomorrow with only one goal. To become 1% wiser. 1% kinder. 1% stronger. 1% more disciplined. At first, it seems insignificant. But 1% every day becomes an entirely different life. This is how mountains are climbed. Not with one giant leap, but with thousands of determined steps. Confidence works the same way. It is built through promises you keep to yourself. Every time you say you'll wake up early, and you do, confidence grows. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, confidence grows. Every time you keep moving despite fear, confidence grows. Because confidence is not something you think. It is something you prove to yourself through action. That's why waiting to feel confident is a trap. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. There was once an old stonecutter who worked every day under the burning sun. For years, people mocked him. "You're wasting your life breaking rocks." They laughed. But every strike made him stronger. Every blister made him tougher. One day, a traveler asked him, "How do you know which strike will split the stone?" The old man smiled. "I don't. I simply know that every strike matters." Think about that. Most people quit after the 10th strike because nothing changes. They never discover that the 11th was the one that would have broken the stone. How many dreams die just one step before the breakthrough? How many people surrender when victory is only one more effort away? Don't let that be your story. Keep striking. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Not because success is guaranteed, but because the person you're becoming is worth the struggle. Music begins to rise. And yet, there is one final lesson that ties everything together. It's the lesson that separates ordinary people from those who become impossible to defeat. It has nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with intelligence, nothing to do with luck. It has everything to do with one decision you must make every single morning. In the final chapter, you'll discover that decision, and why it has the power to change not only how you see yourself, but how the world begins to see you as well. Stay with me. Because the most powerful lesson of this entire journey is still ahead. What if I told you? The person you've been waiting for is already here? Not next year. Not after more money. Not after more experience. Not after everyone finally believes in you. Right now. The greatest lie the world ever sold is this. One day I'll be ready. But one day is a place that doesn't exist. It never arrives. Because when tomorrow becomes today, the mind simply invents another excuse. Another reason to wait. Another reason to doubt. And before you know it, years have passed. Dreams have faded. Potential has become regret. The Stoics refused to live that way. They understood something timeless. Life is not measured by how long you live, but by how fully you choose to live the moment you have. Every sunrise asks you one question. Who will you choose to be today? Not what will happen to you. Not what people will say about you. Not whether life will be easy. But who will you become? That question changes everything. Because the moment you realize your character is a choice, you stop waiting for confidence. You start creating it. Imagine two people standing at the edge of the same mountain. Both are afraid. Both hear the same voice whispering. What if you fail? The first person turns around. The second takes one step forward. Did the fear disappear? No. But courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that your purpose is greater than your fear. That is what believing in yourself truly means. It isn't saying, I know I'll succeed. It's saying, even if I fail, I know I can rise again. That is unshakable confidence. Not confidence in the outcome. Confidence in yourself. Pattern interrupt, music softens. Silence for 2 seconds. Now think back to everything you've survived. The heartbreak you thought would destroy you. The rejection you thought you'd never recover from. The failures that kept you awake at night. The people who walked away. The moments when you questioned your worth. And yet, you're still here. Take a moment to let that sink in. You are still standing. You have survived days you once believed would break you. So why doubt yourself now? You've already proven you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. The evidence isn't in your future. It's in your past. Every scar tells a story. Every setback became a lesson. Every obstacle became part of your foundation. You didn't become stronger because life was easy. You became stronger because you refused to stay down. That is the Stoic spirit. Not perfection. Persistence. There is an old saying. The oak tree never asks the wind to stop blowing. Instead, it grows deeper roots. Life will never stop testing you. There will always be uncertainty. Always criticism. Always setbacks. Always people who misunderstand your journey. But if your roots are deep enough, the storm becomes your teacher, not your enemy. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He never asked for an easier life. He asked to become a stronger man. And that's the shift that changes everything. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, who is this helping me become? Because every challenge carries two gifts. Pain. And wisdom. Most people only notice the pain. The wise search for the wisdom. So beginning today, make yourself 3 promises. The first, I will stop asking others to believe in me before I believe in myself. The second, I will judge my progress against who I was yesterday, not against someone else's journey. And the third, no matter how many times life knocks me down, I will always get back up one more time. If you can live by those 3 promises, your confidence will no longer depend on applause. It will come from your character. And character is something no one can take away. Not failure. Not rejection. Not success. Not even time. One day, years from now, you'll look back on this chapter of your life. The question is, will you remember it as the season you surrendered? Or the season you finally decided to believe in yourself? That choice is yours. It has always been yours. And it begins today. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Write one sentence in the comments. Today, I choose to believe in myself. Not for me. For you. Because the moment you write it, you're making a promise, not to the internet, but to the person you'll become. If you found value in this video, share it with someone who needs this reminder today. And if you're ready to master your mind, strengthen your character, and apply timeless Stoic wisdom to everyday life, subscribe and join this growing community. Remember, the strongest person in the room is not the loudest, not the richest, not the most famous. It's the one who remains calm in chaos, disciplined in difficulty, and faithful to themselves when no one is watching. And if today's lesson opened your eyes, then your journey is only beginning. Click on the next video, where we'll explore the Stoic art of letting go, why peace begins when you stop chasing what you can't control. Because believing in yourself is the first step. Mastering yourself is the next. I'll see you there.